We'll look at the block in the box. Count that, give you an idea of what our sled weighs down the track. Bob Gensler comes out of Huntsville, Wisconsin, the run steer. One of 6 states represented in this particular class. Wisconsin, Iowa, Pennsylvania, Michigan, North Carolina, and Ohio. Track Bob Gensler is in and now. Got the change time. Walk on that one break just on 20. 293.76 to the right, 293 and a 76. Bob Gensler. And he will take that.
How long has it been since you've seen him jump?
301 and 3. 301 and 3. We moved on to the Budweiser light track and the Silver Bullet coming out of Eastern Pennsylvania. Had a chance last night to see this for a while. It's not possible. Actually was divided from the super stock, the diesel from the combo. We did all that in 99. We separated it. This guy has won a total of 8 times, most recently 2016 with the Silver Bullet, and he comes to the starting line. So he and Terry Blackburn both are tied with 8 victories here since 1999. We go back into those archives. Now, you think about the history of the Superstock class, the roots go back all the way to the beginning. All the way to the beginning. We had Superstock entries here, and sometimes we'd run a 5,500 class, a 7,500 class, a 9,500 class here at Toma. But in 1999, we did a division after team entries on both sides. A lot of times you see absolutely picture perfect as far as direction is concerned. He tagged the brake. He didn't tag much. He ends up very close to that 300-foot mark. Not real sure you can cross it. From our angle, a little difficult to say. That is never a good sound anytime down the track. Nope. Just the Dickens Art Machine is no negative. 72-20, Cape International. Maybe a little bit right of center on the track. Something over there perhaps that no one else has found. We'll see what Joker's in with it. He's 313 and 5 now. Leaves the glass. That's John Schreier. He's over. And he lays down an excellent pass to his credit. You're exactly right, Miles. A lot of black smoke says we've got a different type of fuel to contend with. Yeah, so there's nothing that says a diesel cannot enter and run at the open class. It just tells us that we can't run the open tractors in the diesel side. So over the last few summers, we have seen that. Watched it be proven that they can be very competitive in the open class. And this right here, we got a tractor that's now knocking on the door of a top 3 finish already with the 7220. 298.4, 298.40 cents to the right. A great pass. Great. Out of North Carolina comes the man from Clinton with Gallant to Strickland in the driver's seat off this one. Gallant will be up. Red Chain here in just a bit. Gallant
even the super stock tractor saddle as well as he comes to the line. It's going to have to be past 300 feet really to take over that number one spot. You got a John Deere sitting there right now.
Somebody beyond 300. It took a lot of time to get there, but we did. I was watching his brake foot. He pushed one brake, let it off, thought I've got it straightened out. No, sir. He had to get on it a second time and to pull it back to the center of the drive. 313 and change. 565. We're next to Wisconsin is the home of our next competitor, the John Deere 4020, the Diggin' Deer. John Gooden coming up to play over on the Budweiser track.
John Strickland, as we get ready to go, and Aaron Holt has been a winner here. He has been a winner in the Super Stock Open class 2010. 2010, he collected a win right here at the Budweiser Dairy Plant.
Oh boy, there's a lot of fluid. If you listen to that at about 90 feet, it still runs. This is a good thing. There's a problem with the way it's the timing issue that's coming up, and again.
But his wins have come in the light super stock side. So he jumps up. He's going to drive both of these entries. He drives the 6-cylinder now, and he'll jump on one of the V8 entries next from the Cheezic stable. But this gentleman, very, very tough. No question about it.
Ryan Gordon pushes the throttle. Successfully negotiated this area about 220 feet.
Yeah, that got pretty darn close right there, and that's one of those things you got to know your vehicle because how hard you tap that.
And almost 17 feet in the other. So we'll see what he wants to do. Again, can he put it right in there in the number 2 spot or the number 1 spot? Yes, I think he can. Now we'll see how much of a prognosticator I am.
338 and 5. All right, here comes Brent Payne. On board to lot number 1. He's chasing John Strickland to the 313 by 65 in first place. See how Brent gets along. Hamilton, Ohio, where he comes out of.
May come up a foot or so short of that 313, I'm afraid. We'll see. Wait for the official measurement.
Well, there's a couple things there, Alan. First and foremost, that is John Strickland sitting in the seat of that tractor. All the work on those tractors to get out here, him and his crew from GNS. They do that for Mr. Wells and, of course, Mr. Strickland here. But that's going to be next 3-4 tractors. We're going to see just how strong that first place run was from James Easy as we go super stock pulling with Aaron Holt.
Welcome to Beer Money Pulling Team. Sit down, shut up, and hang on. Welcome to Beer Money Pulling Team. Sit down, shut up, and hang on. president of WPI World Polling International Incorporated. His son Chris is here with us as well. Dave, thank you for taking on Monday night with us here. This is pretty exciting. So
thank you for coming and doing this.
I'm really excited. Kind of nervous.
Yeah,
I
am too.
Okay. Yeah. Well, tell me the story where you went to high school to be. This is the best way.
Well, I was born and raised on the farm in a little town of Norwalk. My dad owned a tavern and a restaurant, dad, mother, in this town of 400 people. And they served chicken on Saturday night. Mother was the cook. And the most ever sold on a Saturday night was 325 plates of chicken, but it cost a quarter. And I have an ad in the basement I can show you. My ad in the local paper. A half a chicken, the drink, a homemade bun, homemade potato chips, coleslaw for a quarter.
I love it. I love it. Charles, can you introduce everybody else is on tonight for our panel? Do we have just you, Charles, or did Ryan or Cody or anybody jump on, Brent?
Ryan is with us, and so far he's the only one besides me. And he just disappeared.
He just disappeared? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Charles, have you ever sat in Dave Schreier's office before?
I have not. I've only driven through Toma.
You've only driven to Toma? Fair enough. Well, Dave, again, thank you for doing this. Every Monday night we interview pullers and promoters, and this is very, very awesome that Chris asked us, got permission to come out and do this at the interview like that. So we texted the pullers today, and the last couple of days Doug did, and we asked people like, hey, where could we're going to interview Dave. What are some questions you have? We kind of have them wrote down out here. So let's start with the history of Dave Schreier. Talk about, I want to know your beautiful wife, your family, kind of the stuff that not everybody knows about Dave.
Well, like I said, and we got that before that I was born raised in a little town in Norwalk.
Did you know that Dagenher guy?
Oh, yeah.
Did you get any? Should we get into those stories right away, or should we save those?
Well, their dad was an IH dealer right away when my dad worked for the John Deere dealership at that time.
Did you guys throw eggs at each other back then? Was there like a rivalry like there is now?
A little bit, yeah. He was also the local marshal there, Leonard. And one time he was in a neighboring town having lunch with the other marshal in the little town of Wilton. He come out and all the wheels were off his squad car. I don't know what happened.
Weird.
See,
that's back when you could have fun stuff like that, and then not have probation.
But anyway, we farmed along with the tavern and restaurant. We had a farm, milk cows. And I had a brother, my brother Dick. He's 4 years older than me. And another brother that's younger. He's 10 years younger than me. And I had a brother that passed away at 17 of leukemia. They didn't know what that was back in the 40s,
Sure.
And 3 sisters, and then a little sister passed away when she was 16 months. But all my sisters are gone now. Anyway, I went through grade school in Norwalk. Then I got talked into going to the seminary in La Crosse.
This is awesome.
Seminary.
Priest.
It was brand new then. And
Father Schreier.
Father McCarthy came and talked to a couple of us into going. There was 65 of us in the freshman class, and 7 of us graduated from high school out of the 65. One went on to be a priest, and then he later married a nun. So anyway,
Is that a joke or is that a real story, Dave?
That's a real story.
Okay, just checking.
That was a real story. This other part isn't real, but I told the guy leading the class there at the seminary, Monsignor Paul, which was later Bishop Paul. I told him that I really wanted to be a bishop. And he said, well, you got to wait for that. And so I left.
So you
Went into the John Deere business with my brother.
Okay, so now that was already established. Your dad had it, right?
No.
Okay.
He worked for the John Deere
He
dealer,
did.
but he never owned it.
Gotcha.
And then my dad passed away suddenly at 59 in 1959. He was 59 years old. And they treated him for a heart attack. From Friday night, we were working out in the field yet. And we rushed him to the hospital and started. They treated him for a heart attack. It was Saturday afternoon. Heart was beating good yet. They opened him up. It was all full of gangrene. He had acid reflux, they would call it today.
Okay.
Yeah, died Sunday night.
Oh.
And So my brother had been in the guards, and then I had been farming on my own. And then we decided to buy the John Deere dealership.
What year would that have been? Purchase?
67. I bought half the dealership for $32,842.79.
What could 32,000 get you today at John Deere? But it gets you a
Can't buy
mower.
a tractor.
I don't think that's like a mower with a lawnmower, right? Yeah. Wow.
And we built that.
Is that the real receipt?
Yeah, that's the receipt right there.
That's awesome. What year? 67?
67. And this is when I went farming on my own when Dad died. And this is where I bought the things to start farming for $15,130 off a guy. I rented his farm.
Okay.
And that's what I paid to get the cows and the machinery and so forth. And in 1968, Dick and I sold, this was 67. In 68, we sold 123 new tractors.
So what model would that have been in 68?
The
The 30 series?
20s, you know,
20's just, 40.
Did they
20
40
series,
no, the 40
a lot of utilities, 10 20s, 20 20s, 15 20s. Yeah, sold 6 of one big.
That was a good day. Anybody still around that you remember that bought them?
Oh, yeah, yeah. We were driving down the road and I'll say to Christine, I sold that guy a 40-20. It had 3 front weights, 2 sets of wheel weights, dual hydraulics, differential lock. She said, "What's his name?" I don't know.
Like Rain Man.
Dave, was it a
Yeah.
gas or a
So
diesel?
anyway, then
68. Go ahead, Charles.
Ryan asked if it was gas or diesel. You probably know that.
You remembered everything else. Was it gas, diesel, or propane?
Gas or diesel?
mostly diesels.
Mostly diesel.
Yeah, just about all diesels.
You,
Ryan
Ryan.
had a question from somebody?
Yeah, so we have a panel of guys watching
Oh,
at
okay.
home. That's our moderators. And normally I sit behind the computer with them, so I'm running blind. Well, they're kind of right back there if you want to see them there, Dave.
Some of the little utilities might have been some gas, like 10, 20, and 15, 20.
So, but Ryan works for Tractor Zoom and they do all kinds of data and they put values on stuff. So he's geeking out right now that you're talking old John Deere tractors. So
So we were in the
1968.
business 25 years.
So 67 to 80, we do 20 be 87, 92. No, 67 to 8. You said 20.
Well, Dick started before that. He got
Okay.
back from the guards and he started in 62.
Okay.
And then we sold out in 80, would have been 86, I believe.
86, 87.
87.
Yeah.
And the reason was, we always had a territory manager, the old school, they'd come in the afternoon and take inventory of your stock, you know, that, because in those days, they give you time on every machine. We get 2 years on a new tractor.
To sell it.
Yeah, to sell it. And if you didn't sell it, you had 2 years, they held it for you. But you sold it and you paid for it. And he'd take inventory, and that night we'd settle up and go out and have dinner. Well, this got to be in the middle 80s about then, in 83, 84, whatever. And this young guy come in the door about 10 in the morning. It was right in the middle of haying season. And he said, I'm here to make settlement for you. And I said, that's fine, go out and take inventory and we'll get with you after work tonight. Oh, no, we got to settle up by 2 o'clock, he said. I said, why? Well, he said, I'll miss my TV program. No, I said, you won't. There's the front door. Well, I'll put you out of bed. I said, that maybe would be fine. Anyway, that told me, and I said to my brother, and we had already bought up 3 other dealerships, and they were small in those days.
Like what
Little
towns,
towns
Dave?
like not Hillsborough, Kendall, Sparta, Cashton. There were hardware stores, you know, some of them that sold some John Deere stuff.
Okay.
And we bought them up. John Deere wanted us to expand. And I could see what was coming. They wanted us to continue to buy more and more stores. I don't want 12, 15, 20 stores like they got today. It's nuts. I mean, how do you hire people to run them?
Right.
You know, it's just, and I'm so glad. And my brother, he was real hesitant. He ran the store. I mean, as far as the shop, the parts part, I done the selling and ran the upper part of the business. And he didn't want to quit.
Really?
And now every time I talk to him, he thanks me. Yeah,
Wow.
when he sees what happened. Anyway, that's the history up through
So up
the
to
dealership.
Okay. So then, and the dealership was in Toma, Dave?
We had one in Tolman, we had one in Norwalk.
Okay.
Chris, he ran the Toma store.
Okay.
Was a consumer product store we built in 1972, I believe. Yeah. And we were about 20 years ahead of John Deere in the lawn and garden business.
Okay.
Because in those days, people would buy by price. The Deere was a better thing. There's some original Deeres that were built in 62 are still mowing lawn. And the guys would go out and buy a Montgomery Ward or Sears and Roebuck, whatever, for less money. And it was hard selling the John Deere because of price.
Yeah.
And so it was a tough deal. So then we also had the Standard Oil business.
And was this at the same time or is this after?
Same time.
Same time. Okay.
A guy had it right across from our Norwalk store, John Williams, a good friend of ours, and he had diabetes. And we bought his. At that time, they went from agent to owner. You owned it then. And so we ran that out of Toma and Norwalk. Chris ran that over here. Mm-hmm. And after we got out of the John Deere business, he kept running the oil business.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm forgetting something.
That's okay. No, we're in the 80s now with the Standard Oil. I want to know where was the dealership in Toma? What's there today, Dave? If I was
the
driving
furniture store.
Furniture
It's
store.
way on the north end. There's one railroad track on the north end.
Yep.
Just before that railroad track on the left, it's the last building.
Okay.
That's the only building that was out there besides the Ford store and the Chevy store.
Okay.
There was nothing else on the north side except the Holiday Inn and the truck stop.
Wow.
That was all open territory, and we bought 40 acres. We bought there.
Okay.
With that building.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That was in 72.
All right, so let's get into how did you start tractor pulling? And yeah, real quick, if you're just joining us, we're live
Well,
with
when we got in,
Dave Schreier. So
when we got in the John Deere business, to come off the farm, got in the John Deere business, and I went to a tractor pull in Kendall. Local pull.
Yep.
Back around the corner, it's all rock back there, and they had a solid track there. And Johnny Walsh was pulling at that time. John Walsh from
like Boston, like the Walsh
old
brothers. Wow.
They're dead.
Okay,
They're 560, and I've never been to a tractor pull. And I'm watching that and pulling the skid,
So you're a John Deere dealer.
Yeah.
And you're thinking,
And I'm watching that, and he gets to the end of that concrete slab, and the front wheels never went up or down. I thought there's got to be something to this. And that caught me right there. And I went back to Norwalk to the Lions Club, and they were going to pass the hat a week or two later for the C&I dog school, and they had $15 in the treasury. So they passed the hat, we all threw a bucket, and I said, I think this group needs a fundraiser. My dad had been a chartered member in 52,
okay.
And this was 66.
Mm-hmm.
And real struggle. There was opposition to that. This was in September of 66. And by March of 67, the president appointed me the chairman of the Norwalk celebration to be held August 15th. Wouldn't call it a tractor pull until I started advertising it. Then we called it the tractor pull. And that was the start of that.
Heck of a pull.
It's still there.
Was it at the same spot down by the river?
Well,
The old creamery. I think that's finally tore down, right?
we pulled on Blacktop.
You pulled on Blacktop.
On that road, we come across that bridge, we pulled right on that road there for years. Yeah. Built a stone boat and blocks and everything. We hauled that around. We did pulls all around the area for the other towns.
So what year did you start pulling then? So you went to Kendall, you watched John Walsh. What year was that? Do you remember?
So 30-20, when we started to pull in Norwalk, that's when we started pulling. So that would have been 67.
Yeah. Okay.
30-20, 40-20, we just took them off the line,
Yep.
Tried to rig them up to pull.
What did you do to rig them up to pull then? What would you
Not too much at that time. And then we started souping them up more in the later 60s, turbos on 40-20s. And we had some other guys around the area there, John Steinoff, Mike, who just passed away up there.
Like Linehan?
Yeah, he used to work for us. He was
He
shop
worked for you?
foreman.
Okay.
And then we worked together on the pulling tractors.
So, like, did you build your own turbos back then, or was there a local guy that was building turbos?
Air research,
Air research.
yeah,
Okay. Were they out of Wisconsin, or where were they from?
Indiana.
Indiana.
And so we started pulling that way, and then in 1972, 6 of us got in my car and we went to the M&W show in Illinois. What's the name of the M&W show in
Southern Illinois.
It's right
Bruce,
off,
do you know?
right off the interstate.
I think it's Gibson City, isn't it?
Anyway, they had a big outdoor pull right out in the field.
Okay.
And here was Van Botkins from Side District Implement in Mexico, Missouri, with a 4320 and a 4430. And he pulled. And I went over by.
Was it the Cajun Queen then?
Yeah.
It was.
I
Okay.
went
Both were.
Well, it was 1 and 2. Bruce?
2 and 3.
22
2 and
Okay.
3.
to
2
Vaughn
and 3.
after the pull, and looking at it, I said, God, would I like to have something like that? So they're for sale. Said, guy just started a lawsuit against John Deere. John Deere had been working with him. This guy right here. This guy right here was an engineer at Waterloo.
Okay.
And he worked with Van Botkins in building the pulling tractors. The engines. Lee Hardesty. And then in 72, when John Deere started building snowmobiles, they moved into Horicon.
Built snowmobile motors.
So he was there at the pull too. And they had made it available. Anybody could get the blueprint of how to build the engine, turbo, and everything. Kenny Smith, a whole bunch of the guys. There was a half a dozen in the nation. Well, one guy's engine blew up, and he started a lawsuit against John Deere. They dropped the program.
Because of that.
And never was able to get a thing back from him. Never to this day.
Because people always ask, why doesn't John Deere, sponsor? It's because of that.
So I really went after I gave up on the Waterloo people. The engineers wanted to. They come up one time and looked to see what we were doing. And I just couldn't get ahead with the company. And so I went to work on lawn and sports. And what do you call it, Chris? Not lawn and sports, but
The implements, smaller implements?
the John Deere
Consumer product.
consumer products.
Yep.
Well, I was getting close, and I was going to our pull up in Essex Junction, Vermont on Labor Day. We always done Labor Day up there. And I swung down through our machinery show in Illinois. They usually rotate from Illinois to Iowa every year, alternated. And scheduled to meet with Case IH through a guy that really worked trying to get us in there for 3-4 years, grant. I just talked to him the other day. And I went to the John Deere tent first, and the guys were there from the consumer products, and I said, how's it coming along? Boy, he said, I think we're getting close. We may be getting something done. I said, you're too late. I'm going over to the Case IH tent next. They're going to come with us. And I walked in there with this John Deere belt buckle. Yeah. I don't know what else John Deere had in my watch. And we're standing there talking, and this guy that handled it was kind of a short man. And we talked real nice, talked for a while. Well, he said, we're looking forward to working with you. He said, but you've got a long ways to come.
Yeah. Like change your clothes.
Now,
right?
this is, he's talking when Case IH came as a sponsor
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the WPI and
Yep.
TPA.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So anyway, they came on and still with us,
Good deal.
So it's been a good deal.
So let's back up then. So you pulled with the NTPA for years, because I want to tell the transition of WPI, because a lot of people kind of blur the lines and don't know the whole history. I'd really like to dive into that tonight if we could and break that out. So you were a member of the NTPA pulling, right? And what years? Can you kind of walk us through that, Dave?
I sat on the full board of directors of NTPA that met twice a year, representing Wisconsin for 12 years.
Okay. What years would that have been, Dave, roughly?
Well, back up from 84 12 years,
72.
72. Okay. So I was on the Wisconsin Board of Directors, a tractor puller, a member state of NTPA, and I was elected to go and sit on the full Board of Directors. Twice a year we met.
Okay.
There was 25 states, 2 from each state, and at least 2 more people besides them, and maybe more. There'd be 200, 250 people sitting around this table for 3 days and nights
In Ohio?
and do nothing. So they rotated it some.
Oh, did it? Okay.
After that 12th year meeting, on December meeting that year, when I found out they had 2 financial statements. One they showed that board and one of their own, which wasn't nothing either when we got in there. And I said, I'm never coming back to a meeting, I'm done. And I'll write about that in here, and this is before WPI
Okay.
was formed.
And this
I
is the
could
article
feel
from
all this.
Pulling Power
And
Interviews.
I said what's
Okay.
needed to be done. And it was a true ringer of what had to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
So it's 1982. How did you guys? Did you stay up too late one night drinking, and that's how you found out about the 2 sets of books, or how did this get out?
somebody leaked it out. I think that maybe got on the board, on the executive board.
Okay.
There was 7, no, there was 9 on the executive board, still is. A lot of people were getting awful disgusted. I mean, you'd sit there and get nothing done. Everybody argue and bitch and moan and
250
do
people?
nothing.
250 pullers in one room?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be
Very
very enjoyable. Charles, would you enjoy that?
Just
Not at all.
And so anyway, that was December of 84. And I went to Elkhorn to pull. And that was July 4th, I believe, in the beginning. And Gene Anderson, who had become the attorney for NTPA in the last year or two, and they hired a guy out of European racing, Dan Partel, because they knew they were in trouble, I mean financially.
Okay.
And they hired Dan Partel to come in to be their executive director. Well, Dan and Gene Anderson got together and they come up with this idea to form this new company. And they asked me after the poll to come into this log building. It wasn't much bigger than my kitchen. And they wanted to talk about that. I said, no, I'm all done talking about NTPA. And he said, no, this ain't going to be NTPA. And I went in there, and there was about maybe a dozen of us in there. And we come out of there, and they had put together what they thought would work. And I agreed with it. And that's how we started WPI. And that
So that was a day, kind of like the Declaration of Independence.
That's right.
There was 12 of you, too, like the disciples. So real quick, how did the NTPA before WPI? How did it get into financial problems? It was the only show in town, wasn't it?
You had no administration.
So it was just
The inmates were running the institution. That's the way I explained it all the years.
that's all.
Everything
I
they
don't know
did
what else to
was
say.
for themselves.
Okay.
You'd sit there and any money would go to the puller. That's the only thing they worried about. To hell with the promoter, to hell with the sponsor. They had some major sponsors and lost them. I mean, Wrangler came into one of the last years, maybe in 83, and she came to Toma, the gal. She said to me, she knew as I was on the board and I was a promoter here and I got to visit with her and everything. And she said, that's just awful out there. She said, I can't talk to anyone. She said, I know this is only going to be a 1-year deal. She said, we'll be gone. She gave clothes. She gave us Wrangler jeans and everything to wear. And she said the president had said right in the meeting, I ain't going to wear them damn things. Can you imagine?
No.
He was out of Iowa.
Oh,
No naming.
yeah, no names tonight, Dan. We're behaving tonight.
No. Anyway,
So this is 83, 84.
yeah, and they had some major, I'm trying to think, the clothing company,
Carhartt.
Carhartt,
Wow.
they had for a while.
Yeah.
And then I went back to those, so you couldn't get them. And later, I mean, they were so discouraged.
Right.
So anyway,
So what year was WPI formed then? Or
85.
85.
Yeah, after we got everything going and what we were going to do, we were going to offer the shares, it had to be 39 You couldn't go over 39 to get it done within a real short time to incorporate it.
Okay.
We had a meeting in Chicago in September, and we offered the shares. And there were some outside units that were doing polls other than NTPA, and they were going to try to buy all the shares. Take it over. But we put a stipulation, you could only own one share. Any one entity could own one share of stock only.
So nobody
That's
can
why
come
we
in.
stopped that. And we sold the 39 shares. I was not elected the first president. Dan Partel, who they brought in from European Racing, was elected president. I was elected vice president. That was in September. We had the banquet that fall out east at Springfield. What the hell the name? We went there twice. In fact, we went on the river with the cocktail hour. Anyway, we had the banquet there, and there was a $90,000 points fund was supposed to be paid out, which was Redmond money.
Okay.
Redmond was their sponsor then. And when they found out we were taking over, they were going to pull out. And
Red Man was going to pull out?
Going to pull out away from us. And Gene Anderson, the attorney, looked over the contract, and we could hold them for one more year. And so we did. We held them for one more year. But the money was already spent. There was no money there to pay out that points fund.
Oh.
And so we decided we would write IOUs, and then we'd make them good within 6 months. Well, on Friday night, while we were there at the banquet, someone overheard another room. I mean, we had an army fighting us to do this. The old NTPA mentality, they were not going to give up. I mean, at that meeting, when we sold them shares, it was right down to the nip and tuck where it wasn't going to happen yet. And I said, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You have no money, you're broke. And they fought us for 10 years at least, 12 years, the old school. Anyway, we got the shares sold, and we got at that banquet, and Dan Partel really got chicken. And he fainted a heart attack during cocktail hour. Fell on the floor. They took him into the hospital.
This is the European guy.
And guess who's going to have to run the banquet now?
You, Dave Schreier, Father Dave.
And by then we had heard about these checks, and we had written the checks too at the office back in Columbus, Ohio.
Wow.
And Gene Anderson was there with his airplane. He had a private airplane. So he went back, flew back to the office Saturday morning to get in the desk and get those checks so we could give the checks up. And he got back there and he couldn't get in the desk. He couldn't find the key to the desk.
This feels like Watergate.
Finally, he found it taped under the drawer. And we had already had the cocktail hour. We had eaten. And now it was time to make the presentations. And the opposition was sitting right out ahead of me at about 3 tables, just waiting for us to say we'll give these IOUs. And I just stalled as much as I could. And finally, here come Gene through the side double doors up like this. And I said, and now we will give out the checks for end of season point funds.
And all their faces.
And them guys.
Wow.
So that's the way that went. So the next morning, I went down to see Dan Partel and see how he was doing. Well, he said, I fooled them, didn't I? Never had a heart attack. I gave him till March, and I didn't fire him. I just talked him into going back to Europe.
Yep.
And I took
Was he
the
from Europe?
presidency.
Yeah, he was from Europe.
But he couldn't let it, you know. And so I went out there just periodically.
So the NTPA, before WPI, had reached out to Dan to come over here and help us save this. That was the whole idea?
Yeah,
Okay.
they wanted him to try to figure it out. He just told them, you're done. He took a look
You're
at
broke.
everything. He says, you're done.
And they didn't want to hear that.
So anyway, I went out the first year and we made someone else manager to run the office there. That didn't work. When I would go to an event and he was supposed to be booking events, he would hide.
It's not good for business, Dave.
So I ended going out there then in '86.
To Ohio.
Yeah.
Okay.
By then time we
And
went.
Columbus, is that still the main,
Yeah.
like where it is today, where it was today?
It
Is
was
that where
started in
folks-
Upper Sandusky and then was moved to Columbus in must have been early '60s. It was formed in '69, early '70s, because it was 15 years old when we took it over.
Okay.
It'd been in business 15 years. Anyway, yeah, the corporate center was, and I had to remove all the people that were working. They had 13 people working in the office, and I had a clean house, start all over with. And 3 of us ran it for a while, and then it went up to 5. And I had to raise that extra $200,000, and after I went out and started paying bills, they just rolled in from all over. And I went to a bank. I went down to a bank closer to where I thought they had been doing business. I never got beyond the waiting room. I mean, they didn't want to talk to me. They had defunct on loans and everything else. And I had to go down to meet with the manager at the Ohio State Fairgrounds. He was a guy in his high 70s, real nice man. I'd never met him, but I told him who I was and what I was doing. Jack Faust. And talked about the poll and getting it ready. He wanted to do the poll with us, sanction the poll. He'd done that before. I said, Jack, would you know any bank in town maybe that I could do something with? I told him the whole story. He said, you know, my son is dealing with a new bank here, and he handles a number of the hotels in town here. He said, a new bank just moved in. Downtown, they got one office in one of the high rises downstairs. Fifth Third Bank out of Cincinnati, and that was their first small, what do you call them? Branch office.
Yep.
So I went down there, went in there, they welcomed me in, we sat down, I told them the whole damn story. Said, we'll help you, but we're gonna have one of our vice presidents to be on your board.
Okay.
I said, that's wonderful. That's how it all started, still doing business with them today. Yeah, can you imagine as bad a shape as it was in? But it might have been by then I had gotten U.S. Tobacco, I'm not sure. But that was a salvation, U.S. Tobacco and Chevrolet.
Okay. So this would have been late 80s, early 90s now?
Would have been like 87. We had the banquet up in Minnesota in 87. I think we were out there in 85, and in 86 we went to Vegas. In 87 we're up in Minnesota. And I had U.S. Tobacco by then signed up. And Redman had pulled out. They must have stayed 86. They were, we made them stay one more year.
That's right.
That's right, because out in Vegas, they wouldn't give us the money ahead of time. And he was there, the guy. He ended up in jail later. But anyway, he was there.
That's another story.
And then he handed out the money. And after he got all done, I said, I really want to thank you, Redman Tobacco Company, for helping with this sport through these years, got us to where we can move on to greater things. That was my exact words.
That's a nice.
Oh, my God. Anyway, then they came in with big sponsorship, and we put money. They told me when I got them signed up in Greenwich, Connecticut, where they're from, the corporate headquarters. We're not going to give you a dime to run the company. All our money has to go out payment. Pullers, promoters, sleds, whatever. Because we're not funding one dime to run the company. And that's fine. And that's the way it worked all the years. They were with us 9 years. And without them, we wouldn't have made it. And we had 25 member states in, and every member state got money out of that program.
U.S. Tobacco.
Yes. The sleds, the competitors, of course, end of season point funds, promoters got money. That's how it was all arranged, and that done so much for us,
Yeah.
That goodwill, the sleds got money. And the one state got more money than any other state. And when we had to come out with the roll cage program, we had to mandate it because of the rollover in Toma.
Ricky Rose.
And
Was it Ricky?
Ricky
Yes.
Rose.
Or no, not Ricky. Randy.
Yep. Sorry. Thanks, Charles.
Yep.
A whole bunch of our member states over that. They
Over
would
the roll
not
cage.
go to the roll cage.
I can't imagine a tractor pull now without a roll cage.
And that.
So people actually quit the NTPA because of the roll cage?
Well, the state pulled out, but that wasn't all bad. I mean, the only money that the organization got out of the state was a membership from the member in order to belong and get his insurance so he could run NTPA events.
Okay.
Well, if that state pulled out and didn't sanction NTPA, we went in and sanctioned regional events of their better polls. It
Yes.
took time,
Yep.
but I got guys in different parts of the country that worked for me in those areas, regional directors.
Is that kind of when the region started then?
Yeah.
So in the late 90s?
And anyway, so we, that was a real transitional period when U.S. Tobacco come on and helped us. And then he must have been about in almost 90. No, 87. I got a call from Ken Enderly. And that's, I should have mentioned him along with Chevrolet. And
We were going to get there. Yep.
He was a major salvation of us.
Yeah.
And Ken was actually, had been talked into going with an event. And I met with him, and for some reason, we just hit it off. We just became friends and respected each other. In later years, he'd come up here and spend 2 weeks here during the time of Toma Poll. And we'd go to a few other polls. Just spend 2 weeks here out in the farm. He just loved it.
I bet he did.
Yeah.
He's from California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Anyway, he came on with us, and we did the first Enderly at the Ohio State Fair, along with the event.
So 80 something, mid 80s, you think?
88.
I don't mean to pop all these dates on you.
About 88. We were there for a number of years, and then we went to Fort Recovery for, I think, 5 years. But running it with all the other classes at those events was really hard because that Enderly grew. We added more and more classes. Finally, Ken and I talked, and he said, "You think this could make it on its own?" And I said, "I believe it could." And we moved it to Urbana, Ohio, where Greg Brandel, that worked for me for 20-some years, is from Urbana. And Greg really was interested in taking it to Urbana because he knew people here, a nice facility. So we moved it there and it stood on its own, and it's been just a wonderful thing for the sport. God, I don't know, million something now that's been paid out in it.
Wow.
And the guys will pass up running for the point championship because there are some events right before that. And if they're real close, they don't want to lose the qualification to get to the end of it. So it's important. So anyway, from there, they had a scoreboard and they had an entry trailer sitting in the weeds out there behind the facility when I went out. And so I woke up one morning about 4 o'clock, and I'd heard that Chevrolet, I knew they were with another group, TNT. And I knew they were putting like 5,000 in each event. And I had gone to a couple of events. I knew there was nothing being done for Chevrolet. So I thought, I'm going up Chevrolet. I went up to their truck headquarters. I just out of the blue. I drove up there one morning, and I went in, the receptionist there, and she said, "Who are you here to see?" And I told the name. And she said, "Well, I'll dial him." I said, "Give me the phone, would you?" And he answered. I said, "Hi." I can't remember his name right now. "Dave." He said, "Hi there. How are you doing?" We'd talked before.
Oh, okay.
I had talked to him about it. He said, "Where are you at?" I said, "In your lobby."
What is this in Detroit?
No, it's another town up there.
Okay, but you went to Michigan.
Yeah.
So you just Ohio. Just
Oh, he
jumped
said,
in?
come on up.
Yeah.
I left that day with a 3/4 ton truck to pull the scoreboard.
Perfect.
Chevrolet truck, and from then on I went up to 5 Chevrolets, and we got big money in the early years, and then they got into trouble, you know.
Yep.
Car and truck dealers, but they were a big help too. Yeah. So we had 2 dualies for the scoreboard and the entry trailer, and they also gave me, I had, I think, I don't know how many, 11 Suburbans or something. We did a new Suburban every year.
What's the most amount of people you ever had in Suburban at one time?
10.
10?
Yeah.
Is there a story with this, Dave? Or?
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, there's 6 in the first 2 seats and 4 in the last seat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like a fun night or like get in, I'm driving, hang on, or
No,
it was all business.
It's really,
You were careful in your Chevy.
nobody was able to drive those vehicles other than the person assigned to them.
Gotcha.
And of course, no drinking, no smoking. And we really protected that program, and we never, the only one.
Yeah, I want a story.
Greg was maybe the safest of all of them.
Mr.
Greg
Reagan?
has never drank. He's, you know, he'd never gone with a girl till he got married. You know, I shouldn't say that.
Too late now. Brandon,
I
well, he's a
did.
good Christian man.
Anyway, he was driving one that started a fire right out on the road.
Oh, poor Randall. That's why he's a Raiders fan.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. So anyway, no, that was really a good program, and they were with us a long time until it went under there. And then we bought Chevrolet vehicles from them ever since, you know. So now where are we at?
I want to know, what's your biggest contribution, you think, to WPI over the years? If we could, is it a list of things? Is it a general philosophy? A business, you know, a business ownership mentality? What do you think?
You know, I even questioned myself many times of why I was doing that,
I would agree with
what
you.
I went through. I mean, and I don't know what drove me. I was just driven to make this work. I guess I love the sport so much. We had the Norwalk event, which I started. We had the Tolman event by then. That was how many years? From
76.
76 to 85.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt so dedicated to the sport. And Tolman and Fort Recovery are the only 2 Grand Nationals that stayed with NTPA all through the years.
Never, no switching. They've always been those NTV.
All the other ones slipped away for a while and then they come back. See?
Okay.
Yeah. But they gave up on us. I mean, I really had a struggle to put classes together in those early years because they all thought we were done, you know. And I had about 5 unlimited tractors, Gardner Stone being one of them, that stuck with us. And we'd have to run them twice, you know, to make a show. But I think just the determination to make it work. And it took dedication. I know that I was physically sick at times over what you faced. And if it hadn't been for this gal here, I wouldn't have made it.
She's watching it in the other room.
Yeah. I mean,
How long have you guys been married?
40 years are going to be in November 15th.
Nice.
Yeah, he ended up in the hospital a couple times. Over this.
Running the MTBA? Oh, I'd be sick. I would never. Be the most thankless job in the world.
I had acid reflux. They treated me for a heart attack on a Wednesday.
That's what your dad died from.
Yeah. They treated me for heart attack from Wednesday. Kenny Smith, a good friend of mine that ran the original John Deere setups and stuff from Ohio, a good friend of mine, he had a heart attack in Louisville that winter
At the
and
farm
told
show?
me all the feelings and everything. I knew I was having a heart attack, and my guy, one of the men at the office, took me down to the big hospital there, and they treated me for a heart attack. Wednesday night, the next day in the morning, and the doctor come in, sat at the foot of the bed, and he said, "I'm going to tell you what's wrong with you." He said, "I have it. a month ago, you got inflamed esophagus. He said what we call acid reflux. And he said, I think that we've got you soon enough, we can treat you with medication. And they did. And I still take a pill today.
Really?
Yeah. The first was Zantac, which they outlawed after a while.
Okay.
So Christine would know what I'm taking now. But yeah. And then I lay in the hospital 11 days on my back and couldn't move. I've had a history of kidney stones.
Okay.
When I turned 40, I had my first one. And I just had them periodically after that. And Christine was up here. Her brother came over from Germany. She's from Germany originally. Came over when she was 16. But anyway, her brother came over and was spending time, so she came back up to spend time with her folks. And him and the kidney stone hit me, and it was on a Sunday. And I went into the hospital there. I walked in, bent over, thrown up, and they know then what you got. And she said, we won't be able to do anything till Monday. We don't have a doctor here to take care of kidney stones. Oh, Jesus. So they doped me all up. Next thing I know, I woke up and it was Sunday night. And they said, don't move. They had me tied down. You can't move for 11 days because they went up to bottom to get the stone. And I don't know if they didn't know much about what they were doing in those days or whatever. But it was awful.
Yeah.
So, and I had quite a few after that, but they got to where they knew what to do to get them out.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Let's switch back to your pulling days. So you bought the Cajun Queens. You had two of them? Or did you have the one?
Well, we bought the one.
So Cajun 2 or Cajun 3?
Cajun Queen number 1.
Okay, so
No, we changed the name
two.
to.
Okay.
It was Cajun 2 because 4020 was the Cajun 1.
And Charles or Ryan, if there's any questions popping up, let me know, guys.
Yeah, I do have one for you, but continue.
Right over there, way over in the corner underneath that colored.
Oh, yeah.
That's
That's
a
Cajun.
Cajun. Okay, great.
That's original.
Charles, what's your question, bud?
Let me scroll back up so I can read it verbatim. It's from Facebook users. Sorry, I don't know who you are, but they're wondering, back in the dealership days, how many customer tractors did you see come in for warranty work on Mondays, knowing they were pulling over the weekend?
You heard that.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Well, we didn't turn them away, but they were worked on after hours.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
After hours.
Because Mike
Linehan
was our,
yeah.
he was there as our shop foreman. He was a puller, worked with us and everything, and we had a lot of friends, and we took care of them. We helped them.
Good deal.
Yep.
That's a good question, Charles. I like that one. So I like that. Okay, so what year you bought? You went down to the farm show in Southern Illinois? Bought
It
the
was in
Cajun?
72, I believe. And anyway,
It was
he
a
said
40,
they
it
were
was a
for
40
sale.
20, right?
43.
43.
It was a 4320.
Okay. You bought it?
And-
Brought it home?
No, we didn't
No.
buy it there. He just said it was for sale. So we got home and I called Eddie Seidenstricker, who now has 20 stores. He merged with another dealer about 2 years ago, and Eddie's 80. And he's in Mexico, Missouri, but him and the other, it's one name. I had a cap with her name on too.
Nobby.
I
What's that,
stopped
Bruce?
there.
It's Nobby Partners.
Nobby? Nobby Partners?
Nobby. Nobbe.
NOB?
Yeah, that could be.
He would know that guy
Yeah.
talking.
I know there's 2 letters on the cap, LB or something. Anyway, this was back then. I called Eddie and asked him if he'd like to buy that tractor. And we ended up buying it. And that was big money then.
Can
You
you,
can't buy the turbo for
can you
now.
tell us what you paid, or is it
25,000.
25,000?
You know, you can't buy the turbo now.
That'd be your pro stock. That'd be your pro stock turbo. Oh, love it.
But it was a lot of money then.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a pleasure that was. I mean,
So you took the toter home down with the enclosed trailer and picked it
Oh,
up.
yeah.
no, in fact, Eddie had him take the sign off the tractor, the Cajun Queen, and I sat down with him at the desk, and he said, "I guess he looked at our truck. We come in with a cab over Chevrolet
Well, that was the Titan.
Titan."
Yeah.
And the flatbed trailer, everything looking really good. We were dressed in green. He said, I guess I didn't have to worry about how the tractor is going to be taken care of.
It's going to another year,
And
man.
we've been friends ever since. So anyway, we brought it home, and
That's 1980. That says.
that's I wanted Bowling Green.
So you named it Green Power. That was
Green Power Special.
Okay. Green Power
Yeah.
Special.
And we ran that, and we built the second one when first
76.
76.
So this would have been super stock. Was this like the 7, 9, 11 days?
So
Or
it was,
We ran-
9 and 12.
9 and 12.
Early
7,
years.
9, and 12. Yeah.
Okay.
But that one, we didn't run 7 until we built number 2.
Okay, so that's number 2 then.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And when we built the second one, we went to Elkhorn. It was the first pull for it, and we were still working on it on Friday night, I think. And the pull was Saturday. We worked to pull on Saturday, and I drove on the scale down there, and they made me back off and drive on again because we weighed 7,000 with me on it.
With a
and we had 2 or
4320.
3 weights
Oh,
on the front of it.
really?
Back
Whoa.
then,
Back then. Yeah. Maybe a 40 20, but not a 40.
Yeah. So then we had the 2 of them, and we had a lot of fun. Chris
You heard it here
started
first. Dave Schreier had the first component.
So in 1976, what year tractor did you make that tractor out?
4320.
What year was the tractor though?
Well, I bought a rear end out of
It was ground built.
Worthington, Minnesota, that a train had hit the 4320 and cut her in 2 at the bell housing. And I bought the whole rear end.
Sorry, Dave. Charles is putting up pictures right now of your tractor on the
Oh,
screen.
okay. Yeah. We bought the whole rear end, and then we built it from there. We built it up because we had to use a lot of light stuff. To
Back in the day, the 5 or 6 year old tractors were built into pulling tractors, weren't they?
Yeah.
Or new tractors even.
Yeah.
Yeah. That had, well, steel pressed, not, yeah. I went out to Dressel out in Kansas to get the first light rims that we used, and they were metal. They were steel.
Still, yeah.
And Doug Dressel made them.
I remember Russell rims.
Doug Dressel. Yeah, and they were real light steel ones until they come out with the aluminum.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got that out then and started pulling both of them. Chrissy started driving and Mike drove. And we were at what's the last one? Wisconsin, Ridgeland.
Richard, yeah.
The big hill.
And we had won the 7 and the 9, and they were running the 9 open. And we had loaded the tractors already. And Lloyd Lukey come over, and Lloyd said, I don't see any of those guys taking it out the end. And I said, why, didn't you change the sled? Same as what you took out the end. Backed the tractor off, went off to, and they were pulling up the hill and that. And
So you pulled against the mods?
Pardon?
You pulled against the mods?
Yeah.
And the 9 open.
And they had kind of dug out a trench, and we had already put in what clutch? Crower clutch.
clutch.
We were first to put Crower clutch in the super stock, the slipper clutches. And so I was able to slip that clutch up and get on the high bar and let her go. We won the 9 open. Jimmy Score come over there. You hog.
So when did the open class go away? So I remember as a kid that was still a thing at Toma.
The 9 open.
Well, yeah, where you would let the mods and the
Superstars.
diesels would run together.
Well, I don't know for sure. Just
Charles, if anybody types that in, let us
you
know.
know,
Yeah,
now
somebody
it's
know.
super can still run
The unlimited.
with the unlimiteds.
Yeah.
You know,
Nice.
like
That's crazy.
who won it for 6 years straight was McCormick. Rose.
Oh, Ross. Ross's?
No.
Ross.
Was it
Ross.
Ross?
Jody Ross?
Ross from Pennsylvania. Is it?
Jody.
Yeah.
It has to
Jody
be Jody.
Ross.
Yeah.
And he went running with PPL and was running with
The Alkies.
modifieds.
Oh, the
yeah.
Alkie Supers. The Unlimiteds. Yep.
Yeah, he ran with our open class.
Right.
The super stock open.
Yep, they're still doing
He
it.
tried.
So, all right.
So
So
where are we at?
I want to keep going with pulling. Like, what's your biggest highlight, biggest wins with the tractors, the teams over the years?
Well, to
Any
win
points
the
championships?
to win the championship in 1980, everyone said, see, a Deere had never won it. By 1980, a John Deere had never won the 7 Super Stock or the 9. Always International, Oliver, whatever. Well, Jerry Lagarde, he was building them all.
Yeah.
You know Jerry, right?
What Hypermax?
And I got to know Jerry really well. He's got a letter there thanking me. Hypermax over there. Anyway, I called
This is like a
Jerry.
museum, by the way.
I called Jerry and I said, you know, I'd really like to win a championship. We're building a second tractor. Would you help us with the engine? Especially
John Deere Schreier?
Especially with the head, because the Deere was an in and out head and the IH had a crossfoot head. The air went in one side and out the other. Well, naturally, you got to take the air in and back it out. You ain't gonna use the air that you do is shooting it straight through. Oh God, Dave, he said, I can't do that. You know, I just can't do that. Well, I said, I'm gonna win the championship with my tractor. Well, he said, good luck, but you'll never get it done. So Indy Super Bowl was the first poll in January.
70,000 people, right?
I won it by 6 inches over the Deutz from Pennsylvania.
Who had the Deutz? Was that Jody? Who had the
It
Deutz
was
from
a
Pennsylvania?
dealership out there.
Bert Stauffer.
Stauffer, yes.
Crawford.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jerry calls me Monday morning. He said, God, you look pretty good. And I said, it felt good and it's going to stay that way. And he said, well, I've been working on 6 of the guys now. I'm lowering them down to 7. Brett Berg and Esden and those guys. He said, I'll have 6 of them in that class. I said, more the merrier.
I love it.
Oh, God. We went through the season. I just kept winning, you know, and he just. Finally, at the end of the season, I'd won and he called. He said, did you ever think about holding a driver's school?
Could be part of it.
Well, they'd laugh at me, but, you know, all these guys stand in the starting line and they look and they watch and they see them. I'd go way out in the finish line and stand there and watch them coming down the track. And that's where you'd see how they'd pull one ear and the other, the wheel come, front end come up and pull it that way and that way. That's where you've seen everything.
So for next year, you're gonna see all the pullers now. Let's give it a new Schreier rule.
They could never catch on to that. I don't
What's
know
Dave
why.
doing down there? Nobody likes him anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and there at the Indy Super Bowl, if we'd have had to pull it off, we beat him by 6 inches, that Deutsch.
Yeah.
And we got home, and the one piston was blown. Here, the water injection, and we had to go outside with the tractors to stage them.
Okay.
You know, colder in hell, it must have froze the water injection up. You remember that?
Yeah.
And it didn't get the water to the pistons. And if that don't, you lose that for just a few seconds and things are over with. We couldn't come back, I don't believe. Yeah.
So points championship, that was 1980?
Yeah.
Okay, so then when did the tractors when did we probably run out of time, to be honest, to pull them? When did you sell them? Where'd they go?
Was kind of after that year then. And then you kept pulling with yours. We parked.
Yeah, I pulled till 85. Well, when I went in and took over
Oh,
the
so
operation.
this is before WPI then. So you never had a tractor then when you ran WPI?
Not during.
Well, I tried 1 year. I tried to pull and run. I couldn't do that.
No.
But anyway, in those years, NTPA was really hurting for tractors and poles. They kept losing poles, you know. There's 5 different organizations came on while I was running WPI.
5.
5 of them that went away. 5 of them.
Do you name them?
That didn't make them. TNT, American Shows,
American Show.
SRO. That was the guy from Kentucky. American Tractor Pullers Association.
Oh, McConnell.
McConnell, yeah.
Okay.
He called me, wanted to sell it to me finally. I said, well, what do you want? Well, he said, I'm going to sell it to you for half price, $1 million. He said,
$1 million.
well, I said, put your assets on paper and send it to me. He said, what?
What assets?
Anyway, or what? Yeah.
The 5, TNT, SRO, American.
Yeah, the 5 that came and went. But anyway, NTPA was hurting for events. So Jimmy J, good friend of mine that
Like
managed
the music promoter?
Conway Twitty.
He did Star Spangled
There's a
Celebration.
picture. I took a picture downstairs of him and John Cash. So we'll go back down there once we get.
All right.
Jimmy J managed Conway Twitty all through his career. Jimmy started down here in Wisconsin. He painted churches and stuff and houses. And he done a few concerts and stuff with local people there.
Yeah.
And he went to La Crosse here to Mary Sawyer Auditorium, and Conway was here. And he went backstage after the show, and Conway and him hit it off, and Conway took him right to Nashville and never had a contract all the years until Conway died on the bus. And he managed Conway all those years. Twitty. And then he worked with Loretta Lynn and a lot of other ones. Well, he was good friends with Lou Robin, who managed Johnny Cash. They worked together with, shows, combining shows and working. Lou was out on the West Coast. He managed Cash all through his major career. So I said, guys, and they had done a couple of polls before. And I said, how about us doing some polls? I'll go in with you, and you guys bring the concert, and I'll bring the poll in. And we did 9 state fairs in 1 year. Just helping NTPA out to have some polls. And we had scheduled the regional, national finals at Columbus and the Grand National finals at Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And it was cold, windy, and raining all day. The day of that Grand National finals. And I can remember Lou sitting in the back seat of the car. We're sitting there in the rain. He says, what the hell are we doing here? Lou was a Jewish guy, and he was, if you owed him a dime, you better get it to him. But if he owed you a penny, he'd drive 100 miles to get it to you. And he used to handle the concessions in the program books. Jimmy would handle the gates, and I'd run the poll. And we come out of Lincoln, Nebraska, or trying to get out of there to go over to eat. And Lou, we waited and waited, Jimmy and I. Finally, I went over to the office by the grandstand. I said, Lou, what are you doing? He said, I'm short so much money. And I said, you had boys selling for you, didn't you? Yeah. I said, you give them enough for 10 books and for change? Yeah. I said, do you think maybe one of them guys went home?
Yep. I definitely do.
So that's how Lou was. Yeah. So anyway, so we put all those polls on. That was our biggest year, but we done some other years too, just to keep some polls going. Yeah. And so
When you
Cash got off his bus here, that's where I first met him.
Oh, okay.
Because we used to, how we done at the fair here before we did the tractor pull, we booked biggest names we could in country western. I mean, we had Loretta Lynn, Johnny Cash. We paid the most for.
At the Monroe County Fairgrounds?
Yeah.
Okay.
For Willie Nelson, we paid $70,000. That would have been maybe in the early 80s. That's the most we ever paid. And then they went sky high, and we couldn't afford them anymore. But John come off his bus. He rode by bus, and I went over there, and you look at his pictures, and they shoot from the bottom up. And I'm 6'4", and I walk over there, and he's 6 foot. And I put my arm over his shoulder. I said, God, John, I thought you were a big man. He never forgot that.
Yeah, I bet not.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So anyway, we did that. So we got acquainted with them. I stayed friends with Lou and Jimmy. Jimmy's in the care center. He lives in Hendersonville, next to Nashville.
Yep.
And he's 80. I'm 84. I just turned 84, and he's 83. And he's broke a hip, and he's got other problems. So I got to get down there to see him somehow.
Chris, road trip.
So
Yep. Road trip.
yeah.
Charles, anything popping up on the screen, buddy?
Yeah, just came in. Future plans for NTPA. What's new coming up? That's from Adam Kester.
Adam Kester.
Yeah, the future.
Future plans for the NTPA.
Well, I'm not in there anymore.
Yeah, I don't know how you would answer that.
Well, that's another day, Adam. We'll table.
I have great faith in Greg Randall and the board now. Greg was with me 20-some years, and now he's been there since I retired in 2020. And Greg is totally dedicated to the sport. He's a very sound financial guy, a totally honest man, and he needs help. I mean, I feel he's got a good board of directors right now, and I have great faith in the organization. I think it's just going to continue, and the sport has become so popular. I mean, the reason is when I first took it over, so many of them said, "No, you got to build a NASCAR." And I says, "Oh no, this ain't going to be no NASCAR NHRA. This is going to be a family sport, which people can come with their kids and walk in the pits and visit with the pullers." I said, "This is a family sport, and that's what it is, and that's why it's stayed and it's continuing to grow, because it's something 3 levels, state, regional, grand national. The guys can get started down here. You don't have to have $1 million. You can get started here, and you can stay there. You can step up, or you can step up some more. But the family can be with you always. And that was my whole intent, to keep this a family sport. And it is. So I think the future is great for it. I really do. I look at the problems some of them other ones got. They're big money, If you take in the sport, let's say the sport today, and you brought in, let's say a $10 million sponsor. The guys that got money today will go after that hard and heavy. And this guy that can't will still go after it, but he'll never get there. And he'll go broke. See, this guy will take the top money. That's no good for the sport, right? No. I can remember when they couldn't fill the field at NHRA. In the top field, they couldn't fill the class.
20 years of that,
10
man.
vehicles. Well, maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
It's about the time that gosh, guy used to run all the time, he's a big name out of Ohio. I remember we was at a meeting and they were talking about, he's going to keep enough competitors and everything.
Right.
I said, God, I understand NHRA can't get 10 on top, what do they call them, unlimited mods or top mods?
Top fuel.
Top fuel.
The rails. Yeah.
They would have been better now.
Let's talk about TV. When did TV come into the sport, and what did WPI and you have to do with that?
Well, we, wish I could remember the guy's name, just a small operator out of North Carolina, and we taped some shows with him, and then you had to wait to when they were going to be aired, and he would try to get a time and a day set, and then invariably about a day or two ahead, I'd get a call and say, "We've been preempted by golf, so it's not going to be aired." Oh man, promoter, competitor, sponsor, everybody that you had to tell, no, it ain't going to be on. And I went through that for a while, and then finally, Nashville Network, TNN, was it?
Yep. Yeah, the National Network. Yep.
They contacted me and said, we'd like to do your events live. And I said, I know when it could be done that way. They done Toma live 2 years in a row.
What year?
97, 98, somewhere in there.
98. Okay.
Yeah.
The second year was the year that Randy Rose rolled over, and they were interviewing Knox, Rodland Knox, right up on the finish line. And they never turned the cameras over there.
So the live audience never saw the tractor roll?
No.
Wow. Because I've seen the video on YouTube or
Yeah.
somewhere.
So
I'm sure.
Now we sell these crazy tapes and all the accidents.
Wild rides. And,
Yeah, but that gave us good exposure, and so I got a call from Godish that owns RFD. What's his first name? Steve.
Randall, type it into the comments.
Godish is his last name. He still owns it today. And he said, I need some pulling on RFD channel. It's a rural channel. I said, I'm so sick of pulling TV and everything. And I said, he just can't stand that being preempted. When he got it all said, he said, you won't be preempted. He said, you'll be on the same day, the same hour, every week. And I'll guarantee you that. I said, well, that makes a big difference. 100,000. I'm like, oh.
What year would that have been, Dave?
Certainly,
Well, it would have been after the live.
Yeah.
So it must have been close
So
to
early
2000.
2000s.
Well, we're in our 13th or 14th year.
So
So it must have been right around
2000.
2000.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what kind of payment deal? He said, you pay me by the month. So we went after sponsors, and we didn't get enough the first year or two to pay for it all, but now it's making money. I mean, we have more money coming in from sponsorship than to pay for the show. And then the live streaming is so good.
Right.
So anyway, that's how it started, and he kept his word. It's always been on Tuesday at 5:30, and then he added the show, which is kind of early morning on Wednesday for night workers and Sunday night.
Yep.
So we have 3 airings. every
Tuesday's
week.
kind of the main 6:30, right? I feel like.
Yeah.
Tuesday's 6:30. Yeah.
So it's been really good, and yeah, he was true to his word. And,
It's good for RFD too.
Oh yeah.
Their viewership is one of the top shows.
oh yeah. So that was a hard decision, but
It was a good one.
I knew we needed TV. You
It
know,
was a good
we
one.
really did.
It was a good one.
And the other good one was the live streaming of our events.
When did that start?
I suppose 6-8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Josh got that going.
Yep, in the office. Yep.
Yeah, Josh in the office. And, you know, they got we tried to sanction Louisville for years.
Okay. I was wondering.
Nobody sanctioned Louisville
Right.
because of not the fertilizer, but the chemical company that sponsors that
Syngenta.
show. They will not have any other signage at that event.
Right.
But we work with them in our points fund and pullers and everything. Good friends with them for years.
Yep.
And about half a dozen years ago, they want to know if we'd live stream it. And Greg called me and he said, "What do you think? You think we'll be criticized?" And I said, "No, we worked with them before. That's fine. That's our biggest money maker in live stream."
I bet it's the biggest one. It has to be the biggest one. Yeah. It has to be the biggest one.
Toma last year, 9 different countries watched Toma
Wow.
on live stream. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's been a nice additional revenue for the sport.
All these questions came in from pullers. We texted a bunch of people that we have in our
Sure.
phones. One question I had came from Iowa, and they said, "What classes have you tried over the years that you thought?" I think he actually mentioned single engine semi or a single axle semis once, and he mentioned something else too. But what's something you thought, "Wow, this is going to take off," and it just never.
I think they froze. Yep, they did.
I didn't know we tried single axle semis. That might have been kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah, the only one I remember is that the wheel stander that's out on the West Coast. Gosh, the Rabbit, I think it was called.
Okay.
It's the only one I remember, and it was like kind of in the exhibition vein. As far as that
It kind of
goes.
took off in Europe. I mean, you don't see any double axle semis over there. It's all single.
Yeah, I think that's also a little bit more commonplace for them to run single
I think
axles
you're right.
up and down the road. From what I remember when being there, I couldn't imagine trying to drive a semi through some of the streets that exist over there. The things get narrow.
Yeah, can you imagine trying to drive a 300-inch stretch?
No, I couldn't imagine trying to drive my F-350 dually over there. I'd be clipping hedgerows with my mirrors.
Hell, there are roads where you and I couldn't drive our GTIs.
Yeah, there's truth to that, especially in the inner cities. They're back.
So we went out and we just booked pullers to bring them in. And J.R. Collins and Mike Metzger's dad,
Ernie
Metzger.
Yeah.
And that's somebody had been on the TV show, Them Crazy Guys with the Car.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Duke of Hazzard. So it had
stuff.
good publicity.
They did NASCAR race with that truck too, didn't they? Race
Yeah,
that
they
truck?
used to race
race. Yep. Charles, are we lagging a little bit? Are we back?
You guys completely dipped out for about 60 seconds, but you're
Charles?
back.
I heard him say the internet was down. Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Yep.
Anyway, Metzger and who's the other one? JR, and he's passed away now, but it was very difficult for him to say one sentence without a bad word in it. Just the way it was. That year, first when he blew his turbo. Of course, we had exhibition runs almost every class, every session. And he was all upset. Man, he just got all done that Sunday night. And Ernie, that's a very quiet, religious man, you know, quiet and everything. Said, Dave, he said, if you're going to have that other feller here next year, don't call me.
When the worlds collide. Oh, I love it.
Oh boy! So then we started with TV and interviewing, and I had to talk to JR. I got him where he could get interviewed and
not swear
and hold it pretty quiet. Yeah.
Did you bribe him at all, or offer him a case of beer or anything good?
No. He's a good guy.
Great promoter of the semi-class.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for him.
He would stay around and run for you when he didn't have to and whatever. Yeah.
Good stuff.
He's a good guy. So where are we at?
We're winding them up here. Biggest challenge running the WPI. What made you have acid reflux or inflamed up esophagus?
The first 10 years was the lack of cooperation from the whole organization.
Okay.
And that started that first day in Chicago, or even before that, when the old NTPA diehards did not want to give it up, you know. Our intention was to form World Pulling International. There wouldn't be any NTPA. Well, we found out that we had to give that much to keep that name, and that was a value.
Sure.
It had been around for 15 years, and it had value. And so we kept it, and we kept the board of directors of NTPA. And there were guys on that board of directors who were bound determined they were going to destroy us. And I'll send you something with you here 10 years later at one of their board meetings, what was said. 10 years later. That was my biggest challenge, fighting that. And I have to hand it to Gene Anderson, our attorney. He made the agreement between the two companies really pretty soundproof, although we had to do an adjustment to
Amendment?
An amendment, two different amendments we had to do to it.
Okay.
Over the years as things got stronger on our side.
On the
We could
WPI
nail
side.
it down a little more.
Okay.
So that we had a pretty open hand. That was the biggest challenge because it was really hard when you're trying to do what was right and make it happen, and it was proven it was. And then to still have them try to backstab you, know? Yeah. So anyway, that was hard to handle, but we kept at it because you had a lot of good people that were supporting you, and it was working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But you had a good, strong board with you.
Yes,
The
I had
WPI board.
Who were the original?
Ken Lampy.
No, Ken wasn't on the first board.
Max.
Max Simpson?
Lee, Max was on the NTPA board at that time.
Okay.
And Gardner Stone and Marv Cotman out of Iowa, out of New Hampshire, Lee. Oh God.
That's okay, Dave. You've
Can't
told
say
us.
that.
It's
A lot of years.
It's been
And
a
there
long
was
time.
a couple of them on there. As soon as the controversy kept on, they got the hell out of the way.
They didn't want to deal with it.
So
Did
there
they
was
have, did they have a fake heart attack?
Max was on the NTPA board, and I wanted him on our board, and so he came over and served on both, but couldn't handle it. And I said to him, I said, Max, we need to cut the NTPA board down to like 5 from 9, same as what our board is. And he went back to the meeting, and he come back to ours and he said, you're going to have to go in and apologize to them. And I did. That was in Las Vegas. I never forgot that. I went and apologized for saying that. And so anyway, George Everett and Larry Richwine were on that board. And they kind of didn't understand everything. And I thought one day, they're really strong on there. Boy, that'd be nice if I had them on this side of the table. So I did.
So I did.
Yeah. I hired Larry and made him my tech director. And I'm sure he's laughing if he's watching.
He's watching. He's watching.
And our first event that he was tech director was Indy Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
And that was the year that we had the new rule that you had to open your clutch up on all the vehicles each season. You had to have the clutch checked. And 2 guys in the 2-wheel drive said they weren't going to do it. And Larry come up to my office there at Indy. He said, what am I going to do? I said, I think you ought to go and do your job. And in the meantime, one of the wrenches from one of the guys come up. He was half crying. He said, I can't get him to do it. I said, how long will he take it to do it? Well, the one he said maybe 20 minutes, the other one might be half hour. I said, I think I'd go back and do them. And one of the wives came in the meantime, and she had a gift for Andy Mauer, was our Kendall rep at that time, and they had just had a baby, his wife. She said, Dave, seeing as we're not welcome here, would you give this gift to Andy for his baby for me? And I said, I'd be glad to. Just set it right here in the desk. So later when I heard, tech officials, please report to so-and-so's pit areas.
You knew they were getting teched. They were tearing them
So I
down.
waited a little while till there was a good crowd around there, and I went back with the president. I said, here, would you like to give this seeing as your stand? And by the way, you don't forget your new Chevy engine that you won this year, the championship that Chevrolet gave to you. We have it here for you.
Yes. You got a new motor?
Yeah, we're
For
new
championship
motors for the
points?
champions.
Wow. That's awesome.
So I had a few good moments.
You had to see them, yeah. So before we let you go, and we're on an hour and a half, I want a funny Larry Richwine story. I mean, there's a million of them, but just give me one good one.
Larry's a real good friend of mine.
I know, but you
was
still
a
got to pick
strong, and he would admit to this. He was a strong NTPA supporter. He told me he had the 45 in his
glove compartment.
No, his on the table, his briefcase.
Oh, his briefcase. Okay, yeah. Because I know where we were going with this.
Anyway, he come across, and that changed that all. And then a few years later, I asked George.
George Everett.
George said, well, I'll serve on both boards. And I said to Larry, that'll last less than a year, and it did.
Yeah.
But he came with George, is still on the board.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Larry, and you'll find some of this reading where he considers me his dad. His dad died pretty young.
That's how Alan Washburn got his first announcing job.
Yeah.
Because we had Alan on the show one night. Because Alan's the voice of Toma for me. I
Yeah.
always hear his voice, and we had him on our show. And he was at in the fair in Ohio where Larry was, and Larry's dad died, and Alan was the guy just calling out the sound like every hour, the sponsors and stuff over the loudspeaker. He got to do the tractor pull, and the guy hired him. So
Well, Larry brought him to Toma.
he
Yeah.
does an awesome job.
Got him started with us. And so anyway, and Larry was saying, you know, your son, sometimes you have to take him to school once in a while, you know, and I would do that.
Yep.
You know, there was times I went to entry trailer a little early in the morning, and the one time I walked in, I locked the door. Larry's, why'd you do that? So we would have to have some sessions.
Yep.
But Larry's very talented in the safety and tech area and everything, and he
all the associations call Larry to get his opinion on stuff.
and his whole family, we became friends. You know, his whole family.
Good deal.
So, yeah, he calls me every year for my birthday.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Just dip out for you.
Yep.
Okay, I wasn't. It was just me or technical difficulties.
Dave's done telling stories.
Yeah, I get literally because now it's not just the black screen; it is gone.
Right. Maybe it was Larry calling him to ball him out. You weren't supposed to tell him about my 45 in a briefcase.
It's because Larry didn't want me to ask the Colin Burkholz question.
Okay.
We lost. So let's go back.
Oh, we did. So use the 5 words to describe your lifetime in the sport of pulling: dedication, determination, inspiration, appreciation, and satisfaction.
That's right.
Yep. So that was one of the questions that came in today. So that was Collins, right? I don't know. We had at least you texted a bunch of people today.
When I put my when I retired in 2020, I gave you this.
Yeah.
And I thanked everyone. And
Froze again.
Yep.
No,
I did just see Colin's question.
Yeah. Didn't want to get verification on Larry Richwine's kicked out of the camper by Greer Hamilton story, which was pretty funny. I don't know if they're going to get back on. They were saying something when they did come back about what they're having going on. I don't know if it's just signal issues or batteries dying or a combination thereof.
Von Bauer thanked Schreier, quote, who gave me a shot at this, I don't know how many years ago. There's probably not any one man in this room that has chewed him out more, yelled, screamed, whatever. I shouldn't even be working here, but he's given me this opportunity. Ken Lamping called me one day, and this would have been in the late 80s. And he said, I've seen a sled down in Iowa. It really works good, I think. And he said, I wish we could try that. We were doing an event in Springfield, Illinois. And I called Vaughn and I said, would you want to bring your sled over and we'll.
Just want to try to change it. I'll take the blame for that one.
I think the question I kind of wanted to ask was what advice Dave would have for other organizations, smaller clubs, West Central Iowa Tractor Pullers, or, ECI, or some of the small clubs, Thumb, or Michigan, what used to be West Michigan Farm Stock. What's your advice for them? How do you grow? How would you help them grow.
Yeah, and certainly there's lessons that are applicable and scalable for
Mhm.
the smaller clubs. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, a lot of experience there. I don't know if they're going to make it back this time.
Well, that's a bummer because you and I really can't sing and dance.
No. You might get further with me singing than you would me dancing. That'd just be me falling over spastically like a electrified scarecrow.
Right. That.
There's some imagery.
I can't unsee that. Stop talking. So what's the latest rumor mill you've heard lately? Anything good?
Nothing good. I mean, like super juicy or whatever that would, break the internets type rumors.
Because we haven't broken the internet in a while.
No.
After the event, I always had to go over to the office and pay Dave Grimm, who used to be the executive director of NTPA way back in the early years. He was managing the Essex Junction Vermont Fair. So it took a little more time than normal. And I come out and Vaughn had everything loaded on the trailer ready to go. I come out and I got run over by my truck and he said, "Are you going to pay me?" I said, "Vaughn, how old are you?" And he told me how old he was at that time. And, oh, God, I didn't realize you're there. You got a lot of years to learn. Why don't you here's your check? And we've got along fine, but he can get excited, I can too.
Well, we all can. Well, if you have to know
meant
with
a
Larry
lot to me
Richline,
when he said this at the banquet.
I'm going to frame that. He yelled at me more than anybody else.
Should we spend 5 minutes going through some stuff downstairs?
Well, do you think how are we doing on the Wi-Fi?
It just got back on.
Just got back on. But we're recording the whole thing, so
Yeah.
we'll replay this whole video if we got cut out a little bit. So
You watch the screen. I'll go get on, and there's a few things that are cool.
has the screen has it been lagging or has it been hanging on okay?
I think it's going to be okay.
Okay. So I have
We'll
Dave
try
talk
it.
about them?
Yeah, you guys turn
Okay.
on talk about it or bring it off. No,
So we're
can't
not
bring it.
done?
Nope, so Doug's gonna go get some of the stuff out of your house. And you're gonna talk about it. So Charles, Ryan, are there any questions on the screen?
There was one that was asked, can any of you in the room there confirm Larry's story about Greer Hamilton kicking him out of the camper?
No. No.
Greer Hamilton, what?
Kicking Larry.
Happy
that one.
It sounds like that's gonna have to be a live stream answer. We're gonna put that on the paid live
I
stream.
would say that's the worst fight I have ever seen between people, him and his son, and that was at
That's that deal in Canada.
Indiana State Fair.
Okay.
In the morning.
All right. So Doug's going down to your basement, Dave.
Oh,
Tell everybody what's he seeing there.
well, then there's the bar, and that bar was made out of wood out of the woods up here by my brother-in-law, and he painted the Toma track on there, or carved it in.
Oh, wow.
With that.
With the Green Power Special number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like a
There's even people in the stands.
There's even people in the stands.
Then there were John Deere stools ahead of it. Ahead of the bar.
Folks sitting right in on
These folks are showing that wood.
Yeah, he can't hear you.
He carved all that out. There's some John Deere tractors toys. There's my helmet. That was something too. I was just a puller when they mandated helmets. And so I just went over in the John Deere store and picked up a John Deere.
Snowmobile?
No, just a
hard hat. A hard hat?
First, there was no regulations.
Just a hard
we
hat.
didn't have
Charles,
snowmobiles.
get your hard hat
And
on.
Andy Main was the head tech director, and that just bugged the hell out of him. I said, "Well, what is the spec that I need?" And
Didn't have one.
okay, there's my dad's bar. Up in the, we'll have down here the price of that dinner someplace.
A quarter.
Down the bottom, of course. Here, Schreier's half a chicken, sir, 25 cents.
That's a deal.
Yeah.
But look at this, whiskey was still expensive then.
Yeah. Each right.
That's the place.
Dad was put a horse pulls it in. Yeah.
50 cents for the whiskey, 25 cents for the chicken.
That would have been in the 30s. He's going pretty fast.
Doug, slow down. Slow down, Doug.
He's gonna pick out some stuff he
Johnny
saw.
Cash, yeah.
There's Johnny Cash.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the first day I met him when he see how much shorter he is. I tried to get him to drive the tractor different times and just couldn't get him. Charlie Pride was the closest to getting on that tractor once.
That would have been legendary.
Yeah, we're shaking hands. Yeah. Boy, there were stories about him.
Yeah, they made movies about him, Dave.
There was the first run at Bowling Green with it.
Wow.
Is that this same picture here? No.
Nope.
No. This had the roll kit. See, it had a roll guard on when we got it.
Yep.
That's another whole story. And that lawsuit over Rose tipping over Toma. They had me, what they call the immigration when they take in the lawyers. Interview.
Subpoena or
Interrogation room? Or?
Interrogation. 9 hours they had me in Chicago over that accident.
Yeah.
And one of the questions was, didn't you have a roll guard on your tractor once? How come you took it? Well, I said, who would ever thought a tractor would have turned over?
Right.
Yeah.
that was a Toma.
That's a plaque there.
That's in Toma, right?
Toma with number 3.
Yeah.
Yep. That was one of the last years you were in.
We developed our own water injection system way before there was any.
Really?
We used a valve off in the John Deere pressure washer. And we put it right on the throttle because you couldn't put the water on until you got the engine revving good.
Or you'd flutter it.
And then you could switch the water on. And then Max Simpson,
Just the
their
farm.
place. Yeah.
That's Max's place?
No, that's our
here,
farm
sir.
here.
Oh, okay.
That's aerial here.
I see, it looks kind of familiar, like I'm sitting here right now. So it's a little greener in the picture.
Yeah. Every year for a while they'd come by and take a picture, you know.
Yeah.
Why don't you buy it? I bought about a half a dozen of them. They'd go in different directions.
You're having technical difficulties?
We had a little bit of Wi-Fi issues, but it seems to be working again now. So now Ryan's got Bruce's attention now, Dave.
All the toys.
All the toys.
Now there's hundreds of toys there. And in the back room, there's a whole bunch of them still in boxes.
Skull pullings are good. Copenhagen skull pullings, yeah.
It's all about tobacco back then.
Yeah.
80s and 90s.
I remember going to kids and handing out big old packs of tobacco.
And David never smoked
Or chewed.
or chewed.
Yeah, that was hard to get rid of. You know, when they had to leave because of the laws, we had so much stuff out there. You know, clothing and hats and everything else.
Flakes
And people just kept wearing the stuff. There's
Like
cards.
trader cards?
Yeah,
No way.
yeah.
Bruce, did you know that existed?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've never seen any, but I've never seen them in person. But yeah, I knew they existed.
Wow.
You think he did? Oh, he did. Oh, yeah.
We had most of those toys in Ohio. We lived in Ohio for 12 years, Christine and I. And in the basement, I had racks up like that. And when we moved back, I boxed all those toys, and I only had 7 toys that didn't have a box.
That's a lot
Now
of
there's maybe more, but there's John Tentis's. No, that's event that Greg put on himself when he left me for a couple of years. His dad talked him into taking this over his printing shop there in Urbana, and Greg had the idea he was going to give it to him. Well, that didn't happen. So
Didn't
Greg
happen.
came back.
Your uncle lied.
He asked me, would you, I always said I'll never hire somebody back. And he said, would you consider at all hiring me back? I said, when can you be here?
Yeah. Sounds like tomorrow.
Yeah,
What's that picture? Do you
It's an
recognize
old
that?
picture of him driving.
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that blacktop?
No, that was,
No, dirt.
that was,
There was a question about that picture on the right-hand side. Were they asking about that on the
I
air?
think so. The 80 National Tractor Pulling Association. That's the Bowling Green win, right?
no, that's the championship
That's a
picture.
championship,
But I don't know where that event was.
1980.
Okay.
There's a lot of our toys.
Charles, Ryan, anything popping up on the screen, bud? I know we're getting towards the end here, so.
Gardner Stones. That's his tractor up and top.
The big question, is this going to be recreated?
Well, there's a lag.
Find a little garden tractor without a mower on it. It's the 110.
You won't. You
That's
can't
maybe
hear
the
you.
most expensive one down
take
there.
about 10
Oh,
seconds.
okay.
Yeah, he's asking about that one.
We had the hitch here 2 years.
Yeah, we need to put that back in Doma.
The Clydesdale, we're working on it.
Chris, let's get
We're
that done.
working on it.
Get that done.
50th is coming up, so if anybody's got any pressure on them out there.
It's you. So yeah, get some
It's
more
our
sponsors.
sponsor.
One of the biggest challenges they had was when we moved the football field in Toma. Took the football field off the grounds and built them a new facility. They fought us. We had public hearings,
The whole
city
city
hall.
Hated it.
Oh, jeez.
So everybody that
And we
played
built
on that
them-
football field.
It
didn't
never
want to go
cost
there.
the city or the town, the state, nothing.
There's that tractor.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
That's a collector, huh?
Yeah. Little original 110.
Did you ever have a bunch of grandchildren down there and tell them they can't touch that?
No, that'd be bad.
We'd have Christmas down there.
Put up electric fence.
No, there's something about David's voice. When he says don't touch it, they don't.
Yep.
They don't.
We had a bunch of buckles. Indy Super Bowl won that.
Wow.
It's nice he thought to do this.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
Snowmobile.
this is so cool.
There's some snowmobiles.
Oh, really?
It's only 30%.
We got two of them in the barn here, a 400 and a 600.
The kids all called.
Oh, really? Of course.
They thought it was great.
Yeah, here's
Oh, there's a dealership.
there's our store in Norwalk, our first John Deere
Schreier.
building, and then we built onto that a couple times. We built that in 1972. No,
72.
72.
They had it down in 74 and then again later.
Here's Lloyd Ricky standing watching me come down the track for him. And a whole set of wheel weights came off. We worked way late at night to get that tractor ready. And that set of 5 wheel weights come rolling down the track. And Lloyd come over to me and said, looks like a good one.
Looks like a good one. Did Lloyd ever have a shirt on?
Oh yeah.
Did he? Because all the videos I've seen him in.
There's brother Dick. Fueling it up. There's little Jason. That's that'd be Helen's grandson, my sister's grandson.
Yeah.
And he went with us at that time, and now he's a grown man, you know.
That's,
And I gave him that
I love
trophy, and
that
it's still
picture.
sitting.
You still
on his
got it?
dresser. Yeah.
that was his brother wiping all the rubber off his face after
Yeah, that one in the
Sharpie
middle.
at an event.
Yeah.
Around the tires.
David looked like a black boy. Didn't he?
There's my sister, but she just passed away. Here's Chris and my brother Dick.
Wow. The Green Power Special, right?
That was at Madison at the big dairy show.
The Dairy Expo
Dairy Expo.
every year. Yeah.
That was guy used to run NASCAR, ran for Copenhagen School, and he came. This is my tractors when I was selling tractors. That was sports headline. And I remember Dolly Parton was in that paper in a few pages.
In a few pages.
We were on the,
You were on the cover?
yeah. That's my office in Columbus.
No windows.
No,
Really?
No windows.
I didn't want a window. I didn't want to be able to look outside. Be locked up. That's one of the. I got so many plaques from Holland. Attended the event over there so many times in Rotterdam. And the president of the European tractors, he started the same time I did over here.
Okay.
As president over Jan Bettenhaus. Good friend.
Did one of those say Nürburgring on it?
I think so.
Yeah.
That first one did, I think.
Over
Charles.
on the other wall by the.
Holy crap.
That's cool.
That's something we need to dig into a little more, Charles.
Yeah.
Doug, go back downstairs to the right.
Where to?
Before
Turn to the right some more.
where I told him not to go into.
Turn around. Go into the room you're not supposed to go into.
There's a door there.
Really?
Don't go through. Along the wall with all the pictures on, but it's the end of the wall. There you're coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. Okay. There.
Right there, Doug.
Yeah, go up a little higher. There's where we won our first trophy at Toma. We won the whole of Toma. There's a picture of the tractor. Ray, go up higher on the wall now.
Shift this. She's the Oldsmobile shifter woman.
Yep.
Whatever they called her.
Go up one more.
Go yell at Doug. Don't go. Oh, right there. There's Dolly. Now, who's that?
Christine, who's that?
Linda Vaughn.
She was the shifter girl for
This
her.
one here. The shifter girl, Linda Vaughn.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of it?
No.
No? Well,
Out at the show in Vegas. Anyway, she wrote on that poster, shift this. Yeah.
That's the collection right there.
this is the one he talked about. He's on the front page and Dolly Parton's in the middle.
Nice.
And this is Tammy Wynette.
Okay.
And
I'll get
David,
that.
that's her husband.
Wow.
The local distributor. So we were very popular at
You have a name
Toma.
yet?
We go there, hold up.
With beer?
Beer.
So cool.
Yeah.
Charles, you'd have friends too if you had free beer, buddy.
Yeah, no kidding. We all would.
We all would.
There,
Get the trophies going upstairs.
Fine. Been able to just tour a fair. And the Gatlin brothers were here. We had booked the Gatlin brothers, and she had had a show in lacrosse the night before. So she stopped here with her bus. And she told somebody she'd just like to tour a fair. So I took our golf cart, electric, and got her in. And her husband and Jimmy J were riding on the back, whatever. I get way up in the dark end of the grounds by the beer tent, and the cart quit. Run out of power. So here they are pushing me straight down, and I said to Tammy, I said, I can't even say I run out of gas.
Mark Ulmer
Yeah,
chimed in.
What's
we
Homer
had
saying?
400 and some trophies.
If Esden, he's wondering if hang on, comments coming in. Just wondering if Esden asked you if he could marry Kim. Thanks for a great show. Take me down memory.
Cap says, my wife says if I buy one more John Deere, she's leaving.
She's leaving.
Yes, sir.
So Mark Ulmer's been watching tonight.
Oh, has he?
Said, did Esden ask you when you proposed?
Did he ask me? No, I told him.
There you go. There.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. That Cap, he said if I buy one more
I know.
John.
I know.
Yeah.
Charles, you got there it is. Your son-in-law's.
He's watching.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to his house one of these days. So Mark Kaltenhauser's that much together. Is he? Yep. We've been talking. Okay. We've been talking about it. Well, Dave, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. This has been awesome. Thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. We're gonna
I
have
worried
this.
all day when you know anything to talk about.
No, I think almost at 2 hours. Charles, Ryan, you guys, kick us off, and you guys wrap it up, okay?
Can do.
All right. Good night, guys. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Well, I don't know what else we
That
got.
was an interesting trip down memory lane.
Was glad we were able to get to spend time with him. You know, he doesn't grant a whole lot of interviews. It's not often you get to hear what he has to say, or even hear the story right from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So, kudos to Jason for setting that up with Dave. I don't have a whole lot more. I know it's getting late, at least for me anyway.
Same.
Don't know who we have for next week yet. TBD, so stay tuned for what next Monday's Let's Go Pulling Live will look like. Any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, do us a favor. For those of you who are still watching, I want you to send either Charles or me, I don't care who, send us a message on Messenger. Tell us who you want to hear from.
Yeah.
If you could sit down and have a beer or an ice cream or dinner with any puller who's alive, obviously, let us know who that is. Because content, I mean, that's content. That's somewhere. If somebody says, I really want to talk to Matt Dirksen, since he and his dad came down, from Ontario and, I guess bruised a few light pro egos. Sorry, Forrester family. This weekend in Keystone. We want to talk to him. Okay. Maybe we can make that happen. But if we don't know that you want to hear from him, we might go for old standbys. So help us broaden our horizons. Send us a note. You all know how to get a hold of us. We're pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
Half of you have our cell phone numbers anyway. Just text us,
yeah.
Email us, call us, whatever. Tell us who you want to talk to. And Dirksen, if you're watching, congrats, buddy. And we're coming for you. We will have you on the show at some point in time.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, the whatever 5 or 6 of us that are regularly on the show, we're bringing our Rolodex to the program, people that we know and people maybe we want to talk to or that we're comfortable talking to, and that is for the 6 of us. It's still only 6 degrees of separation. That's a pretty narrow band. There's a lot of people out there in this sport with interesting stories to tell. Maybe we should be telling them, but we just don't know about it.
And we may need your help in getting to them.
Yes.
So if it's somebody, I guarantee you within an hour or two, we'll have a message that says, we want Rob Russell, because I've heard that probably 30 times over the past 2 years when I've asked that question. Oh, we want to hear from Rob Russell. We're working on it.
Yes.
But if you give us a name from somebody who's pulled Mid-South for 1,000 years, and we don't know that person or we don't know him well, look us up.
Yep.
Give us a phone number, et cetera, et cetera. We can do a little bit of legwork. And, there's lots and lots, like Charles said, there's lots and lots of great stories out there. And we want to tell them. But you guys know the stories, some of those stories, or rumors of stories better than we do in some cases, because we have our own sandboxes.
Yeah. As much as we want to cover the world, we are limited. I'm only one person. I can only get to so many events, and the same goes for Ryan or Cody or Paul or Jason or Doug or anybody else. So.
Yep. Or just send us some discussion topics. If you don't have somebody that you'd really like to know more about, but you've got a question out there, hit us. For the record, do not send us, why hasn't Light Limited Superstock solidified the rules? We're not going to take that. We're not going to take that question because we're not stupid. Come on, I had to throw something in there, but you know
that sidetrack show had been done about 6 times.
Oh yes, I know. I've listened to several of them, and you guys can too. By the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but Charles and Andrew, when Andrew was still alive, they did a hell of a podcast. It was nothing like what you see here, or very little like what you see here. But there's
the show I probably couldn't get away with today.
Yes, that. Yeah. But there were probably, I don't know, there's got to be 3 years worth of stuff there, right?
Yeah, about that. Yeah, it's on
30 episodes.
It's on iTunes or whatever they call themselves now, Google Podcasts, Spotify. You can find it.
Or just go out to sidetrackproductionsinc.com, I think.
Yeah, it's on there too. Yeah.
And they're all there. I will tell you that the interviews with Tom Hartzell are some of the greatest interviews that I've heard those two do ever. And you owe it to yourselves to go and listen to them, because that's the voice of pulling that Andrew and Charles and I grew up with.
Yeah. That was a fun day. Tom came and did that. It wasn't over the phone. He was there with us to do that. And then he took us to lunch over our protests.
I've listened to that. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to that podcast. There's so many great stories out of that. Tom was such a great storyteller. He still is a great storyteller.
Still is a great storyteller. Yeah.
Can we get him on? You have the connection?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I want to hear what happens when the smoke goes from white to gray to black. I have to hear that one more time so that we can capture it on audio.
Okay. Yep. I
would love to have the chance, because I've never met him.
Oh, no?
No, I've never met him.
Great. They say never meet your heroes. He's one you definitely want to meet. He's everything you picture in your mind that he would be.
I know he was the voice behind the mic for all the years where I went pulling, where I developed the love of the sport.
What I would love to do is get the chance to do a show with him. And I know it's tougher these days because he's so busy with the pavement sprint car series, but that he bought. But that'd be special.
We did get our first suggestion already.
I've got a few. My screen is
shut up. Mine came in first. Shut up. Warren Ropp.
Yep, I've met Warren at PRI a few years ago. He'd be a good one.
Warren, if I remember correctly, has a standing offer to drive the Remedy anytime he damn well pleases.
He does.
Although right now, if he wanted to do it, he would have to sit in the cage and make the tractor noises.
Yeah, it's kind of Flintstones power right now.
Yes, Flintstones power, some assembly required, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, keep the suggestions coming, please. Amanda Stern, I saw that you sent me a message. I haven't gotten to it yet, but would love to start doing a little bit more of this at your direction for those of you who are watching. So tell us who you want us to talk to.
Yeah, there's some, even in the comments, there's some good ones that have been on my personal short list as well. So
let me look at the comments quick.
I mean, we got Roland Barr, Danny Dean, Johnny Mello.
Jeez, yeah. We need to get a Masterson.
Yep. Somewhere, I actually think I've got Johnny Mello's number. So,
I don't know who Tractor Pulling Fan is, but Sherry Schaefer, if for some reason you are watching, call me. because that would be really cool. That's
Yes.
someone I never even thought about asking.
Yep, she would be a
I'll
good
bet
one.
she'd do it. I'll bet she'd do it too.
I do too. Yeah.
Let's see. Who else is in there? John Link. That'd be a good one.
Yep.
Could we get Tim Engler, you think? I don't know him. I've never met him.
I've never met him either. I know he's incredibly busy, but he's one I would love to hear from. Their suggestions made Dave Banter as well.
Yep.
Would be great to talk to. I got a message from someone saying Jerry Legod, which would be tough to pull off, I think, but that would be really good interview as well.
I would probably nerd out on that one.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
I guess in league with Jerry, like I really wish Max Simpson was still with us, because that would have been. I did get to talk to Max a small handful of times, and boy, that was good.
The only experience I have with Max Simpson is the stories that my friend Ron Brinkman has told me, and I know you know Ron well too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. All right. Well, now that we've put the bug in your ears, y'all know how to get a hold of us. So shoot us a message. Tell us who you'd like to, who you'd like us to talk to. And if it's more than one message, if it's a, kind of a steady stream of consciousness, we will probably cut you off and say, stop and take a breath. But it would be, it really would be good for us. I mean, it's something that we've wanted to do, kind of to have this bank of people that we could pull in.
I'm told that
Mark
a certain
Fisher.
test, red super driver, can be made to happen. I'm going to keep that. You just guess who it is, and we'll figure that one out.
It's also been requested that we get Jason's dad on the show.
Yeah.
I'll do that under one premise. Jason is muted the whole time, and he has to watch and listen.
On camera.
Come on, folks. Tell me that wouldn't be the greatest show ever. We get Mike to start talking trash. Folks, we're going to do that. I guarantee you we will do that. But anyway, I think we've probably belabored the point enough. Get at us. Tell us who you want us to talk to. So, any words of wisdom for you?
No, just keep your stick on the ice.
There you go. Actually, I have one. Also, if you're going to Meekum for the Gone Farming auction on Friday, or if you're going to be at the Almond pre-20s, or pre-30s auction preview on Saturday, holler at me, would you? Would love to chat. I'm going to be there both places this Friday and Saturday. So would love to meet up with some of you if you're around. Might put you on camera. This is more for the tractor Zoom kind of stuff, but tractor nerds are tractor nerds in any language. So anyway, that's all I got.
All right. Chandler, I can see you, but the rest can't. Are you going to close it down, or you want me to? You want me to do it? You're going to do it. All right. Thank you, sir. Chandler's going to take us out. Have a great week, everybody. See ya.